Welcome to the after party. Welcome to the after party. Did you bring some snacks and treats? I hope you got me something to eat. Welcome to the after party. Coming to the after party. I've been waiting here all day to act like a fool this way. Welcome to the after party. Join us in the after party. Oh, chocolate and gabbing, maybe some microphone grabbing at the after party. There's one thing that I will never be, and that is a pop singer. It's never ever gonna happen. Never, never, never.
Don't say never.
Oh, that song. It's so funny because that was a placeholder song. I actually made that song with the intention to go back in and like change it. I just was like, oh, I've got this new idea. Because it's actually a lot longer than that, but I just used that clip for the intro. And then when I did it the first week, Paigey talked over it. And so then that turned into the actual theme song. So it's actually just unmastered and unfinished. And I just was like, I guess I'll leave it. And now, you know, everybody seems to love it. It's an awful song, but yeah.
I mean, it does have a pretty good hook to it, though. I mean, honestly.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your kindness.
Yeah.
By the way, everyone, our special guest this week is Sean Stackhouse. His first time on the After Party. Not my first time streaming with him. I've streamed over on his channel, but he is here with us today. Thank you for joining us, Sean.
Absolutely.
Appreciate having you here.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Canada Graphs all the way from Canada, somewhere up north. Who was out taking photos and videos yesterday. Hopefully you got some good stuff. I'm waiting for your blog to update so we can
I mean, I got stuff.
So he didn't say good, but he said he got stuff. So there's promise.
Yeah.
There's a promise there. Okay. Thank you, Cal, for the 99-cent super chat. No question attached, but thank you for the support. I do appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Glad everybody is. So Space Fluff says Canada's overrated. I just had to like jump in and say, you know,
wow,
Canada's overrated. That's actually very edgy. And if I were
Space is overrated.
Oh, shots fired. Shots fired. Demonetize the stream. There we go. Anyway,
if you want me to demonetize the stream, I can.
No, let's not do that. I know what you're going to talk, what you want to talk about. We're not going to do that. So, anyway, we're going to talk about all the shows, but there are going to be some changes. There is one show that I'll probably not include in the after party moving forward unless everybody is really excited for it. But I haven't really seen much excitement for it, so we'll see where that goes. Okay, Thomas Scott here, a member for 13 months, an enhanced Team Eric member. Happy 2-year anniversary to Arrow's End. Great to see Matt back. Hope he returns to the Flash. Sorry, not been around, been busy with uni. Well, you know what? That's super important. I will never ever try to make anyone feel bad for being busy with something so important. Thank you for your continued support of the channel. And yes, Arrow has been off for 2 years now. It's hard to believe, honestly.
I didn't even realize that till I was just reading that.
Yeah.
I was doing the math in my head. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sean, did you watch Arrow regularly? Were you an Arrow watcher? Okay.
Yeah, I transitioned right over from Smallville into Arrow. Season 1.
Were you one of the people that was mad that they didn't use the Green Arrow from Smallville?
Initially, I was. Yeah. But after I got into season 1 of Arrow and I saw Stephen Amell's radically different take on the character, I was like, okay,
yeah,
I like this better.
Yeah, no, it actually ended up being a very good thing for the network. Obviously, they've spawned off in other stuff. Yeah. Although I will say, that, and I talked about this in my History of the Arrowverse thing, initially there was going to be like a Justice League-esque type spinoff with the Green Arrow from Smallville. That didn't happen. And it was going to be Stephen S. the Knight who went on to do Daredevil for Netflix. So imagine how that would have been. Probably would have been quite interesting. So Ashbury on with the $5 super chat. He's talking about my shirt, my Bleach shirt. Which is my favorite anime. I know it's super basic. Don't yell at me for that, guys. Like, I know it's super basic, but it is my favorite, and I am excited about a continuation of the story. I actually went back and watched most of it. So here's the weird thing. Fun fact, not related to DC at all. The Bleach anime in America is split up in 2 platforms. The first half of the series is on Netflix and the second half is on Hulu. So you have to have both to watch the whole thing.
Interesting.
A little weird, yeah.
It's a good way to market, I guess.
Yeah. So as far as the Weekly Geekly goes, we're still having trouble with Omega's internet, and so we're gonna try and do a stream this week. We'll talk about both episodes this week. But Book of Boba Fett's episode this week was good for all the worst reasons, which no spoilers, but it didn't include a character that was kind of the point. But there was a character there that reminded me why I loved that universe so much. Arrowverse scenes with a Team Eric member chat, a member for 13 months. Kramer plus gold face powers plus flash flowers equals Godspeed. I mean,
we were just talking about this on Flashverse's stream. So
oh really?
I know what that reference is.
Yeah, that would be wild. So, Sean, are you caught up with the Flash right now? Are you watching it or not? Okay.
Yeah.
So Kramer can take people's powers. Could you imagine if she was in a room with like the entire Justice League? She would be unstoppable, right?
Well, so you've seen the trailer for the upcoming episodes, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an episode where it sounds like they're going to be locked in the CCPD, and Goldface is in that episode. And Kramer's in that episode.
That should be fun.
In theory, she could end up with both of their powers at the same time.
So if Kramer got the powers of somebody that could stab stuff and Goldface's powers, would that make her Poker Face? Because she's
oh God.
Why'd
I open this up?
I don't know. All right, so look, Eric, really, Kramer cannot take down Batman. Well, according to the universe, there's no one that can take down Batman, but that's an entirely different subject. All right, so we've got a few topics today. We're going to jump in first with a couple of stories. Not one's news and one isn't, but what I want to talk about, and that's the fact that Keenan Lonsdale, who played Wally West on the Flash, Kid Flash, who has been bounced around on the show quite a bit. He was on Legends for a little while. There's been rumors that he wasn't happy with how his character was handled on the series, and so that's why when he left, he didn't really want to come back. And then he came back and did this one episode that was really well received, where he was basically the guru of the Speed Force, sort of taking like the Max Mercury type vibe, where he was just in tune with everything to do with the Speed Force. And everyone loved that version of Wally. They're like, okay, so this is a version he's not like Barry. He's a different character, which I thought made him very interesting. Well, people are expecting he's going to come back because Keenan Lonsdale has started like basically sharing fan art and making comments in reference to like whether or not he would make an appearance back on the show. And there's obviously controversy. Some people did not like his version of Wally West. I've heard different reasons why. Some people just prefer the comic book version. Some people don't. I mean, he is the comic book version, but he's Wallace West in the comics. But they prefer the original classic Wally West. Some people just didn't like how he was treated on the show. Some people just didn't like his version altogether. And I'll start with you, Sean, because I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this in a while. Mm-hmm. So with the Flash, would you like to see Wally come back to the show, or are you happy with the show just being basically about Barry and just his story? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I like Wally. I like the Wally character, classic, modern, whatever. On the Flash though, I like when he's there, but the Flash tends to feel like it's overcrowded sometimes. Mm-hmm. And that's my only issue. I liked it when Wally kind of went over to Legends. And you had the speedster over there. That was really cool. And it made him a little more unique to the show than having like dual speedsters or what have you. But I mean, I'm not opposed to him coming back if they kind of let him hold on to that type of appearance that he did last time, like the guru of the Speed Force and what have you.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool.
I actually preferred his character on Legends.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of like how he fit in, I think he was more of himself over there. Also, he wasn't the second speedster. He was their
Exactly.
sponsor instead of being second to Barry Allen.
Mhm.
Canographs, Keenan Lonsdale. Have you ever met him? Is he a nice guy?
I never had a problem with him. He's as chill as he looks in social media. Like, he's a very calm, laid back type. As far as him coming back, I mean, I don't know what may have changed in the last 2 years, but he was definitely showing zero interest in ever coming back a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like, there was 100%. He didn't even want to finish the episodes he was obligated to do. So I don't know what's changed. I don't know if it is Eric Wallace, if maybe he had issues with the old showrunner, but it is pretty clear, especially from the last 2 or 3 tweets he put out. He seems at least interested in thinking about it, you know?
Yeah, he's been focused on music quite heavily, and he was doing some modeling for a lot of different companies as well. So he's been very wrapped up in other things other than acting. But one of the things, and I think Paige, you talked about this in his video about this subject, is that now that travel is much easier because of the relaxation of some of the quarantine rules, you're going to see a lot more people coming back to shows because now they're able to actually travel. Because one of the things as an actor is if you like live in London, and you have shows in London that you can do, you're going to do them because you're there.
Yeah.
You're not going to travel to like Canada or America or Mexico or something where you're going to have to quarantine for half a month. It's just not, as an actor, I can't imagine that being viable for someone to do that for a living. So yeah, Mike Glenn here makes a good point. Wally was nerfed on Legends. They always found a way to knock him out. And this is what happened to him on The Flash as well. It was either Wally or Barry. You very rarely saw them doing things together unless it was like a mid-season finale or a season finale, because 2 speedsters is broken. It's just broken. And now we're going to have 3 this season. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go. But all right. The next story I want to talk about is it's not Arrowverse related, but it is DC related. And I thought it was interesting. So Jason Momoa, Fast and the Furious, I mean, okay. It's not that I can't see him in that genre. I think he fits in fine with it. But do you think this is him replacing a certain person from Fast and the Furious? Or...
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
All I will say is Jason Momoa is from an island in the Pacific, replacing a person who has his family roots in an island in the Pacific.
Interesting.
And they both kind of have a very buff, physical, large tone.
Okay. I'm just like, I think Fast and the Furious is a very interesting franchise because I started watching it when it was about racing. Like the first three movies where it was about racing. And then somewhere around 4 or 5, it's like they decided they wanted to be like Mission Impossible. And then it went from Mission Impossible to like superhero stuff. And then from superhero stuff to like, these huge James Bond type mission. Like it really did kind of morph into this different thing. And, they've even got the spinoff stuff that they've done. So I don't know. I'm excited to see where this is going to go. I like Jason Momoa. So, I'll check out anything he's a part of typically. But yeah, kind of curious. So Quinlan said it's a downgrade for him. Because he has Aquaman, right? I mean, he's a big guy.
I agree. I actually agree. I think him attaching himself to a franchise that's in its 10th, 11th movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the box office pull of those is. I know it's still, in the hundreds of millions. But, I mean, no one takes those movies seriously.
Didn't they fly a car into space?
Yeah.
I was sitting here when you were going through the history of the movie. I'm like, I've never watched more than, I think I watched 1 or 2 of the early ones, and they were entertaining. But all I could think when you were saying that is like, last I heard they were in space.
Yeah. That was the whole thing, like leading up to the last movie. People are like, it's like Fast and Furious in space. What's going on with this?
So, oh gosh, am I going to get this name? Abstin's been Sinan with a currency that I don't think I've ever received, which is interesting.
Myanmar? That can't be Myanmar. I didn't think Myanmar had internet access.
So he says, show y'all's tee wearing full screen and standing. Well, I can tell right now that you have a Green Arrow tee.
I do.
Mine is just a Bleach tee with the skull. His looks like it's
Malaysian. Okay.
You have failed this city. Is that what it says?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
You have failed you have failed the city for sure.
Awesome. And then Candigraphs is just wearing a black t-shirt, I'm sure. So what does it
The
say?
hockey shirt.
Oh,
Nice.
so there we go. Thank you for the super chat. What kind of currency was it? Did you find it?
Malaysia.
Malaysia. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's start into the shows. The first thing we're going to talk about is Peacemaker episode. Is it 5?
I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Monkey Dory, I think is the title of the episode. And I will say James Gunn loves gore. He loves gore. It takes me all the way back to like his first films. And so very, very exciting series. HBO Max. So this has me excited for like all the other movie tie-in shows that they're going to be doing, because it feels to me like they're definitely like, we're making this for like adult viewers.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that. I love the Marvel stuff on Disney Plus. But one of the things I've missed is the Netflix Marvel shows, because they were more adult oriented. And this is DC saying, look, we're going to give you PG-13, but we're also going to give you like a hard R. We're going to give you like the hard R type stuff as well. Yeah. So I'm really, really enjoying the series right now. We're 5 episodes in. General thoughts, guys. Like, what? Like, are you loving it? Do you want to see another season of this? What do you think? You go first, Sean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot, actually, more than I thought I would, coming off of the Suicide Squad movie, which I thought was like a fun team up movie, but Peacemaker didn't grab me as the standout character that should get hit like a spinoff show for HBO Max at that point. But 5 episodes in, yeah, I'm good. I like it. And see, it's funny that you mentioned Marvel stuff, because I just went back the other day and started watching Daredevil season 1 again, compared to the tone of the Disney Plus stuff. And I was like, man, I miss this. And that's the beauty with DC, with HBO Max. We can do whatever, kind of whatever they want. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe a possible season 2 and see what they could do with it.
Now, Candigraphs, you've been around since I've been saying this for ages. Is DC needed to do something that makes them different from Marvel in terms of their movies and their properties or whatever? Do you think that Peacemaker is different enough that they can do something? Because we got the Gotham show coming up, we got this Batgirl movie coming out. Do you think that they're going to continue down this direction, or do you think we're going to go back to like the Zack Snyder stuff? What do you think we're going to do?
I think you might have two different avenues for them. They'll still have their typical superhero line, and then they will have, whether it's James Gunn or they get people with James Gunn's line of thinking, will branch off with their own line that kind of, as we've noticed, has this more adult, sometimes R-rated personality to it. But they will still target most of their money and focus towards the ones that will appeal to a broader audience. Because at the end of the day, even though Peacemaker is a hit and it's like the #1 show on HBO and all these things, we know at the end of the day, there's a percentage of the audience that will never watch this because of the content that's in it.
Okay.
And the people that are watching Peacemaker will still go see a random DC movie, though. So, they're always going to focus most of their attention on the one that's going to make the largest profit in the end, which is the more all audiences available material.
And I think we see that with the Flash movie, because that's PG-13. A lot of people thought that was going to be rated R for some reason. And I'm like,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. What about the Batman film? That's also PG-13, right? Isn't that one PG-13?
Yeah, is it seriously?
Yeah,
I believe so. I think that's going to bum a lot of people out. I think a lot of people were expecting that to be rated R.
The trailers for it would not make me think that's going to be a PG-13 movie.
I maybe the chat can correct me, but I believe it was rated PG-13.
You might be right. I'm just saying the tone that they've presented to the public doesn't make me think that's what I'm walking into.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. And they might be smart about it. There are ways to make PG-13 movies very edgy, but you have to be very good at what you're doing. Maybe Matt Reeves is. So here, Laura says, do you hear Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is James Gunn's, I believe, last movie for Disney? Yeah, it's probably his last contractual movie with the Guardians situation.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they can't bring him back for something else. I would suspect that he's probably going to be a director in their pocket for a while in terms of like wanting to come back. Let me put it this way. I think between the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, and of course the stuff with Guardians, James has left his schedule open for both Marvel and DC at this point. So I think if they came to him with the right project, because I don't think he's going to do something just to do it. He's made it very clear that he's very, careful and selective about what he wants to do. And so I think moving forward, James Gunn has made a mark here where they can say, you've been successful at what you're doing, so we're just going to let you do what you're going to do. Obviously, it can't get but so gory if it's going to be in the PG-13 range, but we've seen he can do PG-13. So, it is what it is.
He just did an interview with, I can't remember if it was Variety or Hollywood Reporter, one of them just in the last couple of days, saying that he's already got his next idea for his next Suicide Squad spinoff, and has even gone into the point of planning it out. I don't know if HBO Max has given him the okay yet, because HBO Max didn't comment on the article, but he already has his plan in place.
But look,
he already knows
are we going to
next.
get a Vigilante spinoff? That's what I'm waiting for, a Vigilante spinoff. That's what
so he specifically said the Suicide Squad member.
Damn it.
So,
okay. All right. So let's talk about the episode. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the fun thing about DC and the multiverse is that Vigilante in Peacemaker is so different than he was in Arrow.
Oh, wow.
Vastly
different. I've always said I think Vigilante is their way of doing a Deadpool without doing a Deadpool, because he's not breaking the fourth wall, but he's very I'm going to kill people and I'm good at it, but I'm also an idiot. So very, very, very much that. So in this episode, Peacemaker's still recovering from his feelings about his dad and his brother, because, his dad's locked up. And even though his dad is this horrible, I don't want to say the word because it'll get demonetized in the stream, he's a supremacist. But anyway, since he's this horrible character, he still feels bad because it's my dad. And so there's this weird thing where he's trying to deal with the fact that his dad would sell him down the river. Because last episode, he's like, I'm not a rat, but I would tell them everything if they asked me. And it's like, it's literally a rat, right? So anyway, so he's dealing with that, and also because of the revelation about his brother. And there's a lot of bonding time between him and Adebayo. I keep wanting to call her Addie for short, because I'm just I always forget. I'm gonna get her name wrong. It's Adebayo, right? Adebayo?
Yeah.
I believe it's pronounced. Okay. Yeah. Which, by the way, love her. So glad that she's back on TV again, because I loved her in Orange is the New Black. So having her back in this was very exciting. Good to see her again. So anyway, his dad's like, I'm willing to rat him out. And so Myrn, who we found out is a butterfly at this point, hires this person who I'm assuming is not a butterfly to go into the prison and replace the chief or the warden, I guess. Was it the chief or the warden of the...
I think it was the chief.
Captain, wasn't it just captain?
Yeah, because the detective...
I don't know the hierarchy. I'm just kidding. But I do. Anyway, he's in charge. And so he goes in to frame him because he knew that the fingerprint issue would come up and he wanted to make sure that his father stayed in. And so I did like that... after his dad kept calling her Lucy Liu, she kept calling the dad all kind Guy Fieri and
Blake Shelton
and Blake, Blake Shelton. I was like, this is hilarious, because it's literally showing how ridiculous it is with the name calling. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, well, Peacemaker also name calls. Is that a parallel between him and his father? Is that why he has to assign nicknames to everybody based on their body or whatever? Probably. Which is something we talked about in the episode, which I thought was kind of funny. But I think the story with his father is going to, because we've only got a couple episodes left, so I'm guessing it's either going to carry over into next season or something is going to happen to his dad in prison. I feel like we either need to put an end cap on that, or it's going to be setting up season 2. I'm not totally sure. How do y'all feel about that? Do you think that would be a good story to continue, or do you think they need to wrap it up in the first season?
I mean, they built up the White Dragon thing, and they've even like shown that he's got a costume in this. And unless he gets out of prison in the next couple of episodes, they're not wrapping up that.
Right.
Like we have to see that uniform in action at some point.
I agree. Yeah.
They didn't just make that just to show it to us.
No. And I think James Gunn is gutsy enough to take the content there.
Oh, yeah, he is.
For sure.
I mean, right now we've got this story with the butterflies, and we're nowhere near wrapping that up.
Right.
So I can't see them filling in and ending the butterfly story and then getting to the White Dragon and ending him all in 3 episodes.
No, I don't either.
So I think that Vigilante and Harcourt had some great scenes in this episode. And, you know, the thing was, she was such a closed off character in the beginning, and now she's starting to sort of open up a little bit. And we see that with Vigilante, and at the end when she starts like sending this photo out from their mission to everybody, and everyone's super excited about it. And so I kind of like her character. And it's really weird because this is almost like Suicide Squad light. Because it's like, it's basically adjacent to what the Suicide Squad is, but they're these misfit characters. Like they don't really make sense, but they do make sense in a weird kind of way.
Together,
so it's good to see her.
Weird, yeah.
I also think 100% Vigilante is necessary in the series. He's a character that has to be there. And I am so glad that they got this actor to play, because he is so good in this role, and he is absolutely hilarious. And what else has he been in? Has he been in other things that I would recognize him from, or is this like his first big project?
I was in somebody's stream, or not. I was watching a reaction video actually, and someone referenced something they knew him from. Let me just look at his resume real quick.
Okay.
You look familiar.
Yeah. Naruto's super chat is a topic that we're going to cover later, but I'm going to throw it up now so it doesn't get lost in the void. It's a $5 super chat. He goes, have you heard about the theory that Bizarro is or will become the character called Super Doom? Haven't heard that theory, but anything is, the Superman and Lois has shown us that anything is possible. So we'll get to that. That's going to be literally the last thing we talk about, but we'll get there if you're going to hang out, Naruto. Thank you for the super chat.
He was actually in Harry Potter, Part 1 and Part 2 of
What?
Deathly Hallows. He's Cormac McLagan.
I don't remember him.
He was actually in 3 Harry Potter movies and 1 video game.
Really?
But he's been in a couple of other things, like he was in 12 episodes of Unreal. He was in 3 episodes of Bridgerton. Like, he's been around for a few years, just probably not in the superhero limelight, right?
I would say that this show is probably going to give him a boost in visibility because of how important he is. Because in Harry Potter, there's so many characters.
That's true.
And this one, he's like in the top level of characters. So that's a different situation. But I still love him. Okay, we go on the mission and we have the X-ray helmet. So when they go into the building and you know, Addie's like asking around trying to figure out what's going on, he just starts like, Peacemaker's like boom, 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 and she's freaking out. She's like, "What the what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, X-ray vision."
I love how she was like shooting people after they were.
Oh, that was hilarious. That delayed reaction.
Even though we'd all seen it in the trailer already, seeing it in the context of the scene, it still was great.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But I love this. This is and you know what? John Cena, I've always liked John Cena, but he is really, really proving in this series that he's got like 100% lead potential. Like he totally does. He's very charming. His humor is very good. His comedic timing is really good. But I mean, people always.
I'll be back in a second.
Okay. I'm not a huge like modern wrestling fan, but I watched wrestling a lot when I was growing up, and people don't realize that when you're playing the hero or the heel, you have to be an actor. You have to be able to act with those characters. So I don't know how big of into wrestling you've ever been, Sean, but
back in the day,
yeah, it's obvious that wrestling, some of these people are really good. You got Batista, you got The Rock. These are all people that came from that background. And so John Cena saying, hey, they're not the only ones that are good. I mean, I'm good too. And so he's killing it. I'm enjoying him leading this role. I mean, do you think this is going to be a game changer for John Cena, the series?
I think so. Before this series, I had seen John Cena in a few things, but I did not think that he had lead potential. I thought he was, in my opinion, more like maybe a Chris Evans. Like I don't think Chris Evans is at the time of, at least at the time of Men in Black International, I don't think he had lead potential. But now after Peacemaker, seeing him in Peacemaker, I'm like, wow, he does have these chops.
Yeah.
And more so than like a Batista and what have you.
Right.
Although Drax is a completely, different character.
But yeah, so I mean, but The Rock is like shot off into like huge stardom. He's like huge on here.
It is funny though with wrestlers because it's about 50-50. There's some others that have tried and failed miserably. I mean, Hulk Hogan, Triple H, these guys just couldn't make it work. But then you get someone like The Rock and now John Cena. Like I remember. So obviously because of the stuff I do, I've interacted with most of these guys, and I remember meeting John Cena when he was literally a guy that wasn't even on the main card. Like, I met him at WrestleMania in Seattle. He was not on the main card of Seattle in WrestleMania. He was on the like warm-up program.
Right.
And he was outside of the hotel, and some guy trash talked him. Like one of the fans there, who's fans of something else, trash talked him. He went on a 2-minute rap about this guy and like just tore the guy down piece by piece on the spot. And so that scene where he was naming off all those like celebrities the other night, that was off the top of his head. There's no way that was written.
And that was the after credit scene, by the way. If you guys didn't watch
that too, yeah.
If you guys didn't watch, like, here's the deal with Peacemaker. Always watch through the credits. There's always something at the end.
Yep.
There's more of that scene in the post credit, so it's really good.
But like I knew back then, this guy has the ability. He can just, you tell him a thing, and he will come up with some clever way to do it. Like that other scene at the start of the series when he's arguing with the old guy in the yard next to him, and he calls him like a wrinkly old, etc.
Yep.
I know that was improvised because I was on set for that day, and all James kept saying to him goes, "Okay, give me something different," and he did like 7 different takes of that.
Okay.
Wow.
So he would just keep coming up with these ridiculous things, yell it at the guy, and that was the one they in the end decided to use. So I bet you a quarter of this show is just them going to John and just being like, "Tell us what you can do."
If I remember correctly, I think James Gunn allows actors to do a lot of improvisation, so he can actually use those in different takes if he wants, if I remember correctly. So that's not too surprising. I like that though. All right, before we wrap up our thoughts on this with the big reveal at the end of the episode, I do want to mention that the gorilla chainsaw scene. So that was Charlie the gorilla, who is Sergeant Charlie. I think it's wait, hold on. I had it written down here. Sergeant Gorilla from 1966. What is it with DC and talking like intelligent gorillas? Like there's so many of them. There's an entire gorilla island. Like they're everywhere. They seem to have this thing with gorillas, but we had the VFX for that, which by the way I think looked amazing. The gorilla looked absolutely amazing in those shots.
Yeah, it did.
It did, but I think the death scene looked a little iffy.
Yeah. It was gore. It was there to be like gross and gory, I think, and then with all the blood, it was a very like I actually did like this when I was like I can't like I had to I couldn't do it. I'm very squeamish with that kind of stuff. But anyway, so we saw that scene and that was hilarious because Vigilante took it personally because he told Economos that he wanted to use the chainsaw. And he's like I think it was on purpose. He did that on purpose, and I'm like, how would he have known there was a freaking gorilla in there that he was going to chainsaw? Anyway, but great scene. So anyway, they wipe out the facility where the butterflies are getting their food from. So I'm assuming that's going to make them really mad because now they won't have any food. Which, by the way, did we find out what it was? The food? I don't think it was.
We still haven't.
I thought it was gonna be something weird, like they were like draining humans or something. I don't know. I thought it was gonna be something weird like that. But then they didn't really show. Anyway, so the facility's gone. And by the way, the music in Peacemaker is really good. It's like a rabbit hole. Like when they did Hanoi Rocks, I was like,
I know.
What?
Like, really?
Like 81, 82, like early glam metal? Like I couldn't believe that they even mentioned that. I was like, that's so wild. James Gunn is always good with the soundtrack. But Sean, you talk about music all the time, so this show must be like a feast for you with all these like classic rock.
It was like in the first episode where he's in that butterfly's apartment, you know, and he's going through all of her vinyl. I was like, wow, that is I totally forgot the connection with James Gunn and soundtrack, you know, for Guardians, and like, wow, he's really pulling out the the metal and glam rock deep cuts on this. This is interesting. And then, like you said, Hanoi Rocks is like, well, that's obscure.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that band broke up in like the mid '80s or something. There, because there was like somebody in the band died or something. I don't remember the whole history. Don't take any of that. Like, I don't know for sure. I'm just pretty sure that someone in the band died and they broke up, and then they tried to come back together. But they're very obscure. Like, I'm really shocked. So that's another thing is Peacemaker mentioned Riverdale, which I thought was hilarious.
I know.
I had to actually pause the episode because I was laughing and crying so hard when he finished with that. I actually had to take like a 90-second break because I couldn't control it.
And the way he actually responded to Riverdale and like how he, you know, the names he called the, you know, people from Riverdale and what have you.
Yeah. That's what got me. Like, it wasn't that he just referenced Riverdale. It was how he said it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was pretty hilarious. And the big thing we get at the end of the episode is Addie finds out that Myrn is a butterfly. She puts on the helmet, X-ray vision, and she's able to see that he's got a butterfly in his head. And then I was really angry when it cut, because that was it was brilliant to leave that as a cliffhanger, but I was also really upset because I was just getting into like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Is Vigilante going to save her? And then credits. I was like,
yeah,
are you kidding me?
I know. Just a little bit more would have been just.
Yeah. No, this show is amazing. Like, I loved James Gunn's Suicide Squad much better than the original Suicide Squad movie. I think it was a much, much better movie. It was one of the most comic book movies I've ever seen. And I love this show. So I'm hoping we get another season of this and there's more spinoffs of the Suicide Squad, because I think this is this is super high quality TV. It's just really great stuff. Now, I know a lot of people from the Zack Snyder fandom hate the series. They hate that this is where DC is going. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I feel like this is what they want. This is what they want from these properties. They're happy with this, and this is the direction they're going. So
I'm happy to be the bearer of bad news. You know, DC has a whole lot of elements to it that's just I don't think would have been focused on in the Snyderverse.
Release the Ayer cut.
Oh yeah, exactly. But there are just so many different elements to DC that I think would have been muted if Snyder would have stayed in control.
Yeah.
You know, so I think DC is good where it is. You know, let's see what happens after Flash.
So I'm curious, chat, what would you score this episode of Peacemaker, episode 5, Monkey Dury, on a scale of 1 to 10? I would say this episode for me, because I don't really do numeric stuff in my reviews, but I was asked here. I would probably give it like a 9. I think it was a solid. It was a really, really, really good episode. I don't really have much negative to say about it. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because I hate the way they cut off that ending. They lose a whole point for that for me. So
I would have given it a 10, except I gave the last episode a 10 because it just had many more like deeper moments. So I give it like a 9.5.
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
I would say I'm on board with you guys. I might push it to a 10. Just because of the music, you know, and like the gorilla blood scene, chainsaw scene, that was really cool.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna move quickly. There's what's the next two? The next episode, the next thing we're gonna talk about is a quick topic. We're gonna talk about Naomi episode 3. Sean is not watching it, but I don't think he really cares about anything related to spoilers for the show. Whoops. Canon Graphs is caught up on it, so I want to get his opinion on it. I made this very clear last week. I'm kind of bored with Naomi at the moment. It's a very slow-paced series, slower than any of the other shows in terms of where the story's going. It's very like Scooby-Doo gang mystery. My biggest complaint is this week we had a possible action scene with the introduction of Captain Comet that cut away immediately. The action got ready to go and they cut away from it and showed our characters running away. Like no action scene whatsoever. All the CGI and special effects, with the exception of Naomi's little light effect, pretty much happens off screen. The hawk wings we see in the trailer have happened twice, I think. Again, they're static. They don't do much. I don't know. I wanted this show to be really good, and I came into it with an open mind because I love Ava DuVernay. I think that she's very talented, and Naomi is a character that I think could have opened the doors for other things. But I believe, based on what I'm seeing right now on social media, is no one cares about Naomi, the character. They care more about the other characters they're going to see on the series. Like, is it going to connect to Superman? Are we going to see Hawkman? Are we going to see Green Lantern? Like, Naomi as a character doesn't seem to be drawing in the viewers for Naomi. And my theory behind that is she's such a new character. There's not a lot of people that even know about her. And so it's really hard for them to translate that into a superhero series. So I don't think it's a bad show. I don't think it's a great show. I think it's just an okay series. And I'm actually shocked at the level they're putting into this show in terms of like directing and stuff like that they have not announced a season 2 yet. So that's kind of how I feel. This episode this week was a little bit better, but it needs to be a lot better in my opinion. And I do want to point out though, Naomi, in terms of like viewership and streaming, is doing a lot better than some of the other shows. Right now it's doing better than Legends. It's doing better than Batwoman. But that could be just because people want to see what happens with the series, like where it's going to go.
It's also new.
It's also new. And it comes on right after Superman and Lois, which also is a big help for that series.
Oh, for sure.
So I don't know what's going to happen with it. I'm not too impressed with it at the moment. I don't think I'm going to include it in the after party unless look, Lance here, one of our normal guests here, says, I'll be honest, I could care less about season 2 of Naomi. Barry says, I hate Naomi. It's boring. Wow. Look, I'm intrigued by Naomi. I wanted to see what happened when she jumped off the bridge. So here's the thing. In episode 2, she jumps off the bridge and her powers are supposed to activate, and it happens off camera. And then episode 3 picks up and they're like, oh, I saw your powers work. And I'm like, we want to see her powers work. Like, why is all of this stuff happening off camera?
We already saw that trick in the Vandal Savage crossover when they were trying to activate Hot Girls.
Yeah.
So I just want to say about you talking about the ratings, and granted, I'm just going off whatever information Wikipedia has. There might be more updated numbers. But their first episode was 0.8 million, then 0.73, then it dropped all the way down to 0.59.
That's probably more updated than what I have. That's probably more.
I don't know if this is the point where people are kind of finally just going, I don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
You know?
So Cannographs, you watched it. What are your initial opinions? Because we're going to move through this quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on
I am struggling to remember it. Like, it is honestly, it hasn't grabbed me. I don't hate it. Like, it's a show I think we've talked about this on other after parties before. I think you're right. A binge watch is the only way to get through this. Waiting week to week, nobody I know in my timeline on social media is going, I can't wait for the next Naomi. I've never seen that tweet out there. There's people that like it, but no one is, you don't have a plethora of Naomi fan accounts out there. Like no one is generating buzz for this show because no one's invested in it, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's a show that if they do a season 2, they have to find a way to do it as a bingeable show, you know? It's not a week to week show. It's not something you can watch in 1 week and then remember next week what happened. Like,
so
even
you think that she's more of a supporting character and not necessarily a lead?
I mean, she's part of a group. She's part of a group of characters in the show. Like, it doesn't feel like yeah, the show is about her, but it doesn't necessarily.
a little bit like Legends of Tomorrow. Like, she technically is the lead, just like in season 1, technically Arthur Darvill was the lead.
Right.
But his screen time compared to everybody else was, kind of a mix.
Mhm.
And all of her co-stars are probably barely behind her in screen time,
Yeah. So there's a lot of issues. I'm going to run through them quickly and then we're going to move on. Like in this week's episode, she wasn't wearing her glasses. Her parents made it very obvious that she's got a degenerative disease like 2 episodes ago, and that's why she has to wear glasses, but no one has asked her why she's not wearing them. Her friends haven't asked her. Her parents haven't asked her. She's not wearing her glasses. Her friends just show up when they're necessary for no reason whatsoever. That's one of the weird things. One of the girls that's part of the group is not part of the school. Yet when they got in trouble, she was sitting at the principal's office with everybody else, which made no sense either.
Oh my God. Yeah. I never even realized that.
There's a lot of issues with the series, and that's just skating the surface. The fact that they went looking for this cipher for the disc that she has, that's like this mystery disc that needs to be deciphered or whatever. They go looking for it, and it's literally around the corner inside the ruins that they're looking through to find them. They walk around the corner, and it's literally right there. And not only that, but she manages to use the cipher attached upside down on a piece of building there or whatever, and decipher the disc right there as the building's coming down on top of them. That doesn't make any sense either. It's one of those shows where I just don't think it's for me. And I feel this way about Legends. Legends is another show that I think some people are going to love it, but it's not for me. I need my stories to be cohesive. I need them to make sense. And when they don't, I call them out on it. I've been this way with The Flash. I've been this way with Superman and Lois. I've done it with all the shows. I just think that Naomi, in its first season, should not be making these mistakes because it is your first season. It is literally the least amount of continuity you have to worry about. You're a brand new show. You're not connected to the Arrowverse. You have the ability to create your own story, and you're already making mistakes within 3 episodes, which means the fact that her glasses are missing and no one has pointed it out is a huge problem, and you haven't even addressed that, and you're only 3 episodes in.
Yeah.
So I'm not big on Naomi. This is probably the last time I'll include it in the after party as a actual topic. So starting next week, if anybody wants to ask questions or if something major happens that's huge, I'll probably discuss it. But I'm not interested enough to continue to talk about that. So we're going to move on from Naomi. Gamerman here with a $10 super chat. He goes, the Arrowverse feels like a family anymore. Wait, the Arrowverse feel like a family anymore. The Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, and Legends felt like a family. Now the Flash, Legends, Batwoman, and Superman. Oh, so you're saying it doesn't feel like a family of characters anymore. Well, I've got a couple of theories about that. Number one is we've had 2 seasons almost where we haven't been able to have crossovers. Because we had one season that was kind of sidelined by COVID unexpectedly, and then we had a season that was filmed during COVID, and that prevented them from having the interactions that they want them to have. I'm not giving them a pass on it. You're absolutely right. There are elements like with Legends that feel very disconnected from the rest of the shows, but I think once we're now back in this more normal filming bubble, and it's going to continue to get that way throughout 2022. We'll start to see them feel more like a family again. I don't know if it'll ever get back to the days of Oliver and Barry, where, the 2 of them were like buddy, but I do think we're heading in that kind of a direction. So we'll see. Do you guys have any thoughts on this before we move on from that?
Go
ahead.
Yeah, you go first.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Well, kind of just, the whole Arrowverse now, especially since you just went through everything wrong with Naomi, I feel like, the whole thing with the CW being up for possible sale, and the whole rights thing after that, I feel like it would be in better interest for DC if they were to just, when they want to do a new show, just do it on HBO Max and leave the CW, leave that model alone, and just let it kind of either you carry it over and do like a rebirth type thing on HBO Max, or you just let it slowly die off. And I say this as someone who was a fan of the Arrowverse from the first episode of Arrow. It's gotten too big, and the writing has been subpar and many levels. I don't know. I just don't know if the CW is the right place for DC content anymore.
So before I'm going to allow you to answer as well, Canada Graphs, people are asking about Naomi, whether I would suggest it or not. And we've already kind of moved on from that, but I will say this. I'm never a fan of listening to somebody else tell me whether I should watch something or not. Like you can take my criticism of it and decide for yourself. But if you want my actual opinion on how to watch it, I would say it's going to be better to watch it in a binge and not week to week. So I'm not saying whether you should or shouldn't, but if you choose to, I would suggest watching it like more episodes in a row. Like don't watch it week to week. I don't think it's going to be that good to watch week to week. That's my thoughts. Canada Graphs, anything you want to say about the whole family dynamic of the CW Arrowverse?
Yeah, I mean, since Arrow ended, it's clear that the Arrowverse is unsure what it's doing going forward. I mean, it's got loose pieces, but is the Flash now your flagship show? Because it's almost at its end. If it's not, that means Superman and Lois is. And if Superman and Lois is, who's Superman and Lois's Barry as Barry was to Oliver?
Mhm.
Right.
They don't have that connectivity of two characters that you can build a connection around. Like, is it going to be Batwoman? How do they know each other? What is
Yeah.
it like? They haven't built any of this yet. And again, fair enough. They are under 2 years of improbable situation, but they as soon as the door is open for them to start doing stuff, they have to build it. They have to
Yeah.
build that bridge now, or they, as Sean said, just let it die off.
And they're trying to do
shows
it with
you
that
have-
comic book, but I don't think the comic book is going to be enough to make that work. It's just
Well,
not.
okay, so I had this discussion with someone else a few days ago. Comic books are irrelevant because in the end, your TV viewers, 90% of them aren't going to read the comic books.
Right. That's true.
They're never going to know this stuff. On Flash versus, someone brought up, like, what if they kill Diggle in the comic? Like, not that they would, but just using that as a example. And all of a sudden on the show, now you're handcuffed of not having Diggle on the show if you make the comic books canon to that universe. And then if someone does come get presented in the comic, and all of a sudden they show up on the show, and people watching the show are like, who the hell is this person?
Yeah.
But they were introduced. Like, they cannot keep the story going through the comics and still have it connect to the TV show. They can branch out and create their own version from there.
Mhm.
But
Perfectly
isn't that
fine.
what DC, like what they said during the first DC fandom, that the comics, movies, and TVs were all going to be canon to each other in the multiverse?
Well, that's what they're saying, is that the multiverse allows them to do whatever they like. The Batman movie and the Joker movie and all of these different things, the Arrowverse, the Naomi verse, the Stargirl verse, all of them are canon, but they're not all in the same world, I guess.
Right, because of
Right.
the multiverse, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of vaguely the point I was making. Like, you can have your version of whoever's in the comics. They're in, like, Earth 42.
Sure.
But
Oh, gotcha.
They don't connect to Earth Prime directly.
Mhm.
I mean, if you do another Crisis event where you're bringing all these people in, you could then have the comic book versions come in, but they should never actually be on the television show in
Right.
any other capacity, in my mind.
And they're going to be in, so the CW would be in big trouble if they lost these shows, because these shows make up half of their biggest shows. Like right now, Superman and Lois, The Flash, All American, and Walker, I believe, are the big four on the CW. So that's half of their value is in these Arrowverse shows. So when people ask me whether or not The Flash is going to get renewed, if the CW is trying to sell itself, it has to renew The Flash, because if they start losing these shows, their value goes to nothing. The CW is of no value without the shows that are on it. So
Exactly.
if they lose the Arrowverse shows, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it, or they should, I'm just saying that from their perspective, if they don't have those, what are they selling to the person that's going to buy them? They need to have something on there, and it's not going to survive on like Dynasty, Walker, and All American. That's not going to be enough. They need to have other shows. And right now, Superman and Lois is at the top. Superman and Lois is one of their top watch shows right now.
Mhm.
Like if they lost that show, they would be screwed. If they lost that and Flash, they would be royally screwed. So this is why when people are saying is something going to get renewed, I'm not saying it has to, but I'm saying that it would be in their best interest to renew everything that's in their top 5 viewing audience right now.
Like,
and the thing with
I
the
don't.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I don't think there's any question about Superman and Lois. Even the most dense person knows Superman and Lois already is probably renewed.
Oh, yeah.
The Flash, on the other hand, no one knows because no one knows what the contract situation is.
Right.
I'm sure every day since like they've come to a point, they're like, okay, we'd like to do a season 9. We got to get Grant and Candace and Danielle and etc. on board. They have been, just knocking on their trailer door every day, going, "Here's a new bag of money. Let me know how you feel."
Right.
Like you're right. They need that show, even though it's dropped down to like 5th or 6th on their thing for ratings. They need that show because it's part of their core of shows that people know is on the network.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to sell that network, I don't know. I read it when it came through, and I'm just
about
like
a basketball player, I believe. I have no idea. I don't watch. I'm not a sports person. All of the Arrowverse shows are in their top 10, though. That's a tough one. Like all the Arrowverse.
Yeah,
shows
I was actually surprised. I was surprised at a couple of things. I was surprised that Legends is higher than it was. I was surprised Riverdale is near the bottom.
Yeah.
Those were 2 things I was really surprised by.
Yeah.
I get Riverdale a little bit, though, because let's be honest, the Riverdale demo is more of a sit at home and watch it on their phone streaming.
It is absolutely. Well, that show is a story-driven show that doesn't have a lot of fighting or special effects that need to be on a big screen. Most people that watch like superhero stuff want to watch it on like a big screen. Staggervore with the 499 super chat. If CBS bows out and Warner Media maintains its stake on network, could it possibly be W? No, I don't see that happening. So they're going to hold on to the CW until they can sell it. That's what they want to do ultimately, because CBS has Paramount Plus now and Warner Brothers has HBO Max. So for them, the CW has become an outlet for anything they don't want to put on their own streaming services, which is why they want to hold creative control of some of the stuff that happens. But they don't want to deal with the financial aspect of doing a lineup, dealing with the TV networks, dealing with the ad revenue, all of that. They don't want to deal with that. They just want to make shows and have someone else deal with the distribution. And that's why they're trying to sell the CW. The CW is literally CBS and WB. It doesn't even have a real branding name anymore.
No.
It's just, it is a combination of those 2 companies. So people seem to forget that is just it. CW is a distribution platform. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I learned something last year that kind of shook my brain a little. CW doesn't have a headquarters.
Right.
Like, can you imagine a TV station without a headquarters? There's nowhere to like mail them something.
Which is why when a lot of us were having trouble doing, so here's a little fun fact about 4 or 5 years ago between me and the other content creators. When we would get flagged for false copyright infringement for talking about a show, where they would just flag us for using a picture, promo photo, they would flag us. And so we had to go through like all over the place to try and get that removed. When we finally found out who we had to speak to, it was a random person who works for WB in Los Angeles. Not even connected to the CW, not connected to any of the shows directly. He is just someone that is there to deal with copyright claims. And that's all he does. So the CW doesn't even have a department to deal with copyright claims. Because it's not a real thing. That's what I keep trying to tell everyone. It's not a real, when you say that it's like the CW's fault, the CW doesn't even really exist. It is just a distribution platform.
That blows my mind. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Neither did I till last year.
So basically the CW looks, like when they're putting shows out on that, they have a demographic they're looking for, and they assign that for the time slots to try and get those shows visibility. But all they want the shows to do is reach syndication numbers. Once it reaches syndication numbers, they can sell it off in bulk to someone else, and then that person can play it, and then they get revenue from that forever, basically.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where we are. Also, the fact that they're no longer selling things to Netflix because they have their own platform with HBO Max or Paramount Plus means that they don't even need to do that anymore. So the CW is a redundant thing for them. They don't need it. So that's why they want to get rid of it, because it doesn't make money for them. It's not like it's losing money, but it doesn't make money. That's the thing. So it's a very weird situation. It's very weird. All right, so we got off on a tangent. We got like 32 minutes to pack in Superman, Lois, and Batwoman. So let's try and run through this quickly. All right. So we got Batwoman, episode 10 of season 3. Now, Sean, you're no longer watching Batwoman, and I do want to get your opinion on that once we talk through a few of the points here from the episode, because I do want to hear from someone who isn't watching it right now and the reasoning behind it. All right. So with Batwoman, episode 10 was Toxic. This is the Poison Ivy wrap-up episode, which happened very, very quickly. So I thought Poison Ivy was going to be like a season-long villain. And she could still come back based on how things ended in the episode, but I thought she was going to play a bigger role. Well, this was actually the end of this particular story with Mary, because Mary was infected with Poison Ivy. So we had 2 Poison Ivies. But Mary was being coerced by Pamela, who is the OG Poison Ivy, the one from the comics, the one that everybody knows, to destroy this dam in Gotham that was going to flood the industrial area. And Mary's like, I don't want to do it because it's not just going to flood the industrial area. It's going to flood innocent people. And Pamela, being Poison Ivy, as you know, everyone is guilty because she's an environmental villain, and she thinks that everyone is taking advantage of the planet. So she thought like people are expendable because plants are more important, is basically her thought process here. So we're dealing with that storyline, and that kind of wraps up with the Mary stuff, because Mary is a battery for Pamela. And that's the way Pamela recharges her powers, because she'd been locked away for so long without water, without sunlight. And they end up defeating Pamela because her girlfriend Renee was using endorphin blockers, I think is what they call it, pheromone blockers, I think, that she was putting in her coffee every day so that Poison Ivy couldn't mind control her. And so they use that to sort of depower Poison Ivy so Batwoman can swoop in and stop her. And I know I'm kind of rushing through this, but I'm just trying to get to all the points here before we get to the end. So we have the scene with Poison Ivy fighting Batwoman in martial arts, which I'm like,
really?
Pamela no martial arts? It was a weird thing. Like she was, so we've established that Ryan Wilder as Batwoman is a very, very good melee fighter. She's very good in hand-to-hand combat. Okay. And to have Pamela, who is Poison Ivy, who is a character that is not intended to fight up close, fight her hand to hand with some like branches or whatever, I thought was a little weird. Canada Graphs, what did you think about that whole wrap up for that? Did you enjoy that? Did you not enjoy that?
So here's the thing. I've said this a few times. I have not cared about this Poison Ivy. Okay. I've found the character pretty boring. I've found her to be dragging down the story. So I'm excited the story is over. However, I agree that this is very rushed and just out of left field. And you're right, the fight didn't make sense, but whatever. I mean, that show, I'm always entertained by the show, but there's a lot of weird writing. I mean, right. We've talked about this, how many times they're writing issues.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to bring up the point of how her story just ends.
Yeah, we can go ahead and move that direction, because I'm going to do each person's story separately. So we can go ahead and talk about that.
Okay. So can we talk about how, not from just a doing it standpoint, but telling the story on television, moral standpoint of just letting the villain go off to have their best life? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going on, like, I'll try and keep it to like 30 seconds to a minute, but people watch television, and, well, the majority of us have common sense enough to just know, like, you can't do these things in real life. There is a percentage of society that looks at things and is just like, oh yeah, a TV show did that. Well, I can do that. And it happened twice in this episode. I'm going to really quickly go over the other one.
Go for it.
They did that with the Pamela Isley thing, like, oh, supervillain, just let her go because it's easier for us.
Yes, that.
And then the other thing I'll go over real quick is letting Alice drive drunk.
Yes, another thing that I thought was a little bit weird.
I'll let you get to that, how you get to it. I just wanted to rant about those two. These are two big things you put in a show that youth watch.
Right. So
I am blown away.
I actually think letting Alice drive drunk was a bigger problem, honestly,
in
everyday life, because it just didn't seem like Like, so to put things in perspective, Sophie and Ryan are kind of like having this lovers quarrel between them where they don't want to be around each other because it's a CW. So they're arguing about being in love with each other, right? So she gets Alice to help her, but how does she get Alice to help her? By driving the car drunk while she's in the passenger seat. Did she have to be in the passenger seat? I don't think there was any reason for that, right?
She needed to be in the passenger seat because she was going to make
Mary. Right,
yeah.
right. Well, why didn't she just doesn't the car have like some sort of autopilot or something? It was a really
Someone
weird
said that
thing.
to me in my chat, like when I was talking about it, someone said to me, like, can't the car just do that? And I'm like, I think you're right, but I don't know because they didn't let it happen.
Even so, if she was doing that, she could have put the car on auto for like 10 seconds. She could have climbed up on the hood and then jumped onto the ambulance. So there was really no reason for Alice to be driving the car drunk.
The only reason Alice was there so they could have that conversation. That's the only reason Alice was there.
Which was another Wildmore shipping conversation, which is another thing that I think is bringing the show down a little bit as well. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. The stuff with Poison Ivy. So they're letting her go to Coriana, where it's nothing but trees and plants.
That won't come back to bite them in the ass.
With Sophia's group, where it's like you are sending a villain with no repercussions for anything that she's done to an island where she can get more powerful than she is right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Flash gives villains jobs, so but
I've complained about it on the Flash too. The same thing
and like, everyone else did too. Yeah,
there needs to be some sort of issue with like you commit a crime, something happens to you. Like you can't just keep letting them go. You can't keep doing that. Yeah. And it seems very odd to me as well that Renee was okay with that because she's a detective for the police department.
I'm not surprised Renee's okay with it because she is just blinder wearing, obsessed with Pam loving her back. She would do whatever that woman told her to.
Isn't that an unhealthy way to portray a character?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to add it up, that's the third bad thing they showed. Young impressionable viewers.
And here's the crazy thing: even with the Alice scene, I really liked Alice this week as a character. I think Alice has been fun the last couple episodes.
I even enjoyed the driving scene. Like it was funny. They had good banter, but you didn't have to have her drinking before that.
Right.
You could have cut that out.
Yeah. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is Batwoman having 2 ticking clocks. So she had to deal with Jada and Mary because of Jada saying, I gave you the buzzer, I want my son by midnight kind of thing, because he's dehydrated and kept alive on life support in Mary's clinic.
Unless you drop a drop of water on him.
Which, by the way, though, how do you keep him on life support without liquid? He had plugs going into his nose, but he's just getting air? And if so, why?
Science?
And the thing is, Poison Ivy was able to do it because she's actually a metahuman. He's not a metahuman. He's just a person. Wouldn't dehydrating your whole body shut down your...
How are they doing this without their medical person?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's just sitting there. Like, really? It's the weirdest thing. And I didn't even realize how weird it was until we got to the end of the episode. And the damage to the dam caused some flooding to happen. Not a lot, but some. And it caused water to drip on him. So he's going to be coming back next episode. But I'm just like, he's on life support, dehydrated, with no fluids. Every organ in your body would shut down immediately.
That's true.
Yep. I mean,
and yet Cam says, how does someone become a sociopath via electrocution? The show doesn't care. That doesn't make any sense either. So his entire reason for being Joker-esque is because the Joker used his joy buzzer on him, but the Joker has used the joy buzzer on tons of people, and none of them have become the Joker. So when she goes like, "Oh, if we buzz him again, he'll become normal."
The dumbest theory I've ever heard. That was still the dumbest theory I've ever heard.
So the Joker button has like some genetic
it's not explained
to it now.
It's not explained.
Wow.
Now I do believe that somebody would suffer psychological trauma if the Joker was torturing them.
Sure.
I do believe that.
Oh yeah.
But that wouldn't turn them into the Joker. And even if it did turn them into the Joker, using that on them again would not make them not psychologically traumatized.
Right. I will give them that being buzzed with it could turn them into Joker on the basis that if you just buzz enough people with it, statistically one of them might eventually come.
I mean, maybe.
Okay, I will give them that. But how does re-buzzing him I want to see the science behind this before you do it.
All I'm going to say is, so the plus side is, I actually graded this episode lower than normal because there were a lot of issues with it. I still think, for me, that Batwoman is in an okay spot right now. I don't think it's the worst it's ever been. It's season 2 for me was rough, very, very, very rough, and I'm okay with the way they're going right now in terms of the story. I like the stuff with Marcus. I don't like the way they got there. That's one of the things that bugs me. It's like I like the idea of him being this new modern Joker. I don't like how they made it happen. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The whole Wayne Enterprises being sold to him doesn't make a lot of sense to me. There's a lot of things there that don't make a lot of sense to me when it comes to this character. So I'm okay with it in that regard, but they are getting, it's starting to feel like it did last season, where the beginning of the season was kind of strong and then things sort of went off the rails. So I'm going to need them to pull it back.
Hold on. You thought last season started strong and ended weak?
No, I thought the middle of it was bad. I thought it was okay at the beginning and okay at the end, but I didn't like the middle.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I will say this, though, that they need to, the Wildmore shipping thing needs to make sense. Like, arguing about love relationships and weird, awkward moments doesn't work for me in a show. It doesn't work on this show. It doesn't work on any show, in my opinion. It doesn't work on Naomi. It doesn't work on The Flash. I get frustrated with it on that. Superman and Lois doesn't happen so often, but it happens on Stargirl as well. So I feel like these shows do it because they need to have these conversations happen, but they're just not great for me. So I'm curious what everybody thought of this from 1 to 10 in the chat. Let me know. And then Sean, I just want your overall thoughts. Did you watch Batwoman season 1?
I did.
Okay.
And I even watched some of season 2, but everything, all the plot points that you guys have been discussing are exactly why I had to stop watching.
Right.
Because I had to turn my brain off, because if none of this would happen under Batman's watch, and I'm not putting Batwoman's character down at all, because Kate Kane is a really good character, a really, really good comic book character. But letting criminals get away and all of this stuff, people not paying their dues, it would not happen under the Bat family. The traditional Bat family, and that includes Batwoman. So the way that they represent the Bat mythos, like from the first episode, when they're like, well, Batman just left Gotham, we're left to our own devices. Where is the Bat family? I mean, Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing.
You know what? This goes to show me that as much as I think Batman is overused a lot of times, I think with the Bat family, he's kind of necessary because he keeps all of this sort of working like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out Jada's big thing at the end of the episode was that she's trying to make the city turn against Batwoman, which is something that has happened so often, and I'm so over it, that a villain or someone who is relatively unknown in terms of like these characters' worlds just shows up and says they're a bad person, and then the whole city turns against them.
Eric, real quick, just to let you know, I just DM'd you something that just broke.
Yeah, I saw Anthony here. Grant nearing year 1 deal by TV Line. Okay, awesome.
No, it's advanced since then. Deadline now has it confirmed that it's signed.
Okay, well, let's see the thing you sent me here. All right.
You think season 9 will have to be the last then? Because the Flash.
The way the wording in this article goes, it might be.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let me share this. We'll read the article together before we move on to the next topic.
That's cool though.
So there's an update to this. I'm assuming you said there's an update.
Well, TV Line was the one that made the thing saying he's nearing the deal, and this is Deadline saying it's done.
All right. All right, let's go. The CW's flagship DC series, The Flash, is headed to a 9th season. Okay, so Grant Gustin is finalizing a new contract to return the title character in the hit show from Berlanti Productions to Warner Brothers TV. I hear the pact Grant has agreed to is for 1 year. A multi-year offer was on the table. According to sources, the new contract comes with a sizable raise for the actor, whose salary is believed to be north of $200,000 an episode.
Wow.
What did I just say about them handing him money every day that they?
Yeah, I also hear Grant has capped his involvement at 15 episodes next season, so he's going to be off for some interlude episodes probably. With Gustin on board, The Flash is expected to be renewed for season 9 by the CW and to become the longest-running Arrowverse series on the network, eclipsing Anchor Arrow, which ended its run after 8 seasons. It could be the Flash's final chapter. The network usually picks up the vast majority of its current slate this time of year because of the potential CW majority and ownership stake. The network may give early renewals for fewer shows this time, with The Flash fully expected to be on the list continuing. I said this just a minute ago. It's one of the shows that they most likely want on the list. There's been a lot of apprehension among the Flash fans whether Gustin would commit to another season, especially after Stephen Amell's decision not to continue on Arrow at the same juncture led to the show's end after 8th season. Because of the Flash's great legacy at the CW, the decision had to be made before the series had wrapped up production on season 8 to give a proper send-off should Gustin opted to move on. Okay, so they were leaving space for this season in case he decided he didn't want to stay, which I think is a good idea. I'm actually happy that they confirm.
Like I'm pretty sure once they got maybe 3 to 5 episodes into the season, Eric, went to the writing team and goes, "We need 2 pathways. One if we're continuing, one if we're not."
So does this mean that some of stories? So do you think that there may be some build up somewhere in the middle that may go one way or the other, just so that they left the door open, or do you think that they would have decided already?
I think the reason this news is probably coming out now is this is probably their 11th hour. They're kind of like, we need an answer by the end of January. Okay. And they up till the time that they knew they would be filming at the end of January, maybe they were still on just one pathway, but after the end of January, they would have been like, okay, the next episode after that, we have to pick a path.
Right.
And this actually, all of this lining up with the talk of the top of the episode with Kid Flash, Grant only coming back for 15 episodes.
Right.
With the interlude there, that could be a Kid Flash moment,
Or the kids.
Yeah. I think the Flash they have enough characters that if they wanted to promote someone up, I think it could work. At this point, because a lot of them, the older characters have already moved on. They've left the show. So I think they could potentially try and do this without necessarily breaking up all the characters. But we saw with Arrow, they tried to do that spinoff to continue Green Arrow, but they did it with a character that was just introduced and people didn't respond well to that. So I think if they're going to do it with the Flash, they have to do it with someone that's been on the show for a while, or at least has been introduced previously. Adam here with the 499 super chat. Do you think Ivy should have been the big bad of season 3, seeing how she was built up at the end of last season and the entire first half of season 3? I thought she was going to play a bigger role. I honestly did. I'm wondering if they decided somewhere during the writing process that this wasn't the story for the season and they wanted to go ahead with this Marcus Jada Joker thing.
I wonder, sorry to really
quick. Yeah, go ahead. No, I was done. Go ahead.
I wonder if it was that early on they saw the work Nick Cregan was putting in and they're just like, this guy is hitting it out of the park. And maybe they looked at the character for Pamela and they're kind of like, and this one's not. And they kind of shifted.
Well, I will say this. Nick on social media has been very adamant that he took inspiration from all of the other Jokers and he wants his character. He's not trying to copy another Joker or be the Joker that everyone knows. He wants a completely different spin on this character so that it's not compared to other people's versions. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Matter of fact, he says he's not even the Joker. He said Batman had the Joker and you have me. So he's not even.
Well, after the whole thing that happened with Gotham, with not able to actually say he's the Joker because of why? I don't. But so, I mean, would they even be able to say, well, this is the Joker and call him by name in Batwoman?
So I want to ask you guys, we're already at the 17-minute mark after the hour. Normally we wrap it up at the half-hour mark. Does anybody have to run away quickly, or can we stretch it out an extra 10 minutes just so we can get both of the stories?
Long as I'm out of here in an hour.
Okay. Yeah. So we might go an extra 10 minutes because I do want to talk briefly about the Reverse Flash, and then we'll talk about Superman and Lois, which Superman and Lois shouldn't take too long. I think that there's a couple things we'll talk about, but Superman and Lois really left us on a kind of interesting couple of cliffhangers. So, all right. So Jordan says, does that mean that season 9 will have 15 episodes? No, that means that they'll probably do 18 and 3 will be filler episodes without Grant in them. Right? Do you feel like that's a good round number?
I think that is a realistic possibility. I mean, 15 episodes isn't, of course, not a possibility, but I think you're right. I think 16 to 18 is more likely, and 1 to 3 episodes he just won't be around for.
And they could,
especially since Arrow only had like what, 8 episodes?
Eight and Grant, and I mean, and then Stephen Amell wasn't even a part of the last couple episodes of that.
Exactly.
So Amethyst is here. She goes, or a Young Justice live action. I don't know if they could do that. Young Justice that would be tough to do as live action. But Cody says this is on top of Danielle being. That's right. Danielle is pregnant again. Caitlin Snow. Interesting.
I definitely could notice it last night at the set. By the way, like,
oh really?
Hard for them to hide it now.
Right. All right. So let's talk about Legends more specifically about the Eobard Thawne in Legends. I'm going to break down what we know of his character now, because if you're watching The Flash and you're not watching Legends, I can still fill you in on Eobard, because his connection to Legends in this episode wasn't a direct connection. They stumbled onto something that he was doing. So he's already doing something. Did you watch Legends this week, Canada Graphs?
Yeah, I did actually.
Okay. So the Legends episode itself was snoozy for me. Like, as the episode was going, I was like this. Like, that's pretty much what it was. I was just waiting for Eobard to show up. This show for me just doesn't, like, I tried to watch it. I went back and watched a bunch of episodes leading up to this one. I'm just not committed to the characters of the show. I will say the show is catering to the people that love it. If you love Legends, they are giving you everything you want from the show. They're giving you great character moments. They're giving you stories with a diverse, inclusive cast. And a lot of people love to see that representation on an Arrowverse show. And I'm not knocking it for that. I think all of that is fantastic. I just don't like the story. I don't like that. I feel like it's just kind of it's a self-aware series within a universe that's not supposed to be self-aware. So to me, a lot of times, like, I don't really like the way they don't cohesively handle their long form storytelling. Legends does a lot what Supergirl does. Legends has great character moments. Like, the characters have great moments together. Their independent stories are usually really good. Their overall stories are usually not great. And so that's kind of a problem for me. All right. With that being said, though, this week we saw Eobard Thawne. He returned on Legends. He's not a speedster, and he's the Matt Lesher Eobard Thawne, which is the one that we met on Legends Season 2. To make things even more complicated, his version of Eobard is stuck in a daily time loop as a protector of a fixed point in time. That is his job. That is his sole purpose. Which then begs the question, who is this other Eobard that we have on The Flash? Because they're technically the same person. Technically. However, we are learning, I'm guessing, that there are 2 Eobards, obviously. There are 2 of them. Okay. So now that we've established that, he no longer has speed, but he has this technology that allows him to freeze time for a certain amount of time. And he's able to do this to protect the fixed point in time. So this begs the question now, are fixed points all protected by people who are guarding those fixed points? Or is it just his that's being done this way? That's a little strange.
That is.
The other thing is, now, Sean, did you watch season 2 of Legends of Tomorrow with the Legion of Doom? Okay. So we know that he was, so the way he explained how he came back also doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He was erased from time by the Black Flash at the end of Legends season 2, right? He's been coming back on the Flash. So we just assumed that story ended. And the one we have on the Flash is just him continuously coming back like he does. However, This Eobard from Legends says that after he was erased by the time wraiths and the Black Flash or whatever, the time wraiths, which are like time zombies, reconstituted him, re-educated him, and somehow built technology for him to wear on his wrist, and somehow he works for them now. So now the time wraiths are technologically advanced sentient beings? That's not how they've ever been portrayed before.
Mm-mm.
They're like zombie creatures. They don't think they are animalistic. They're not actually like they're not conscious of what they are. So
they just know like when something is messed up in the timeline and who is responsible for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. He was reprogrammed and given a job. Who is his boss? Who reprogrammed him? The time wraiths?
That's a great question.
Where did the technology come from? And this Eobard actually says, I agree with them. We should watch out for time. I'm like, Eobard would never say that. Like, this is so far away from Eobard Thawne. It's not even the same character anymore.
I don't think it's Eobard Thawne. It's probably a doppelganger of some sort, or somebody that looks like Eobard. I don't know.
What did you think of this flip, Canada Graphs?
So from the episode itself, now granted, you and I have had this conversation many times that I watch things for different reasons. I didn't mind it.
Right.
Fun episode to some degree. But as far as the point at hand, I was a lot confused. But several of the points you brought up definitely were like why I'm confused. I don't understand. Why even bring him back? Why didn't you just introduce a new character to do this thing? I mean, I understand why they brought him back because people want to see Matt Letcher, but it didn't add anything to the character and almost to a degree kind of destroyed the character because now I don't understand the character.
Right.
Are you in that same frame?
No, I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah.
My confusion is that if he were still a speedster and he were working for the time wraiths using Speed Force or negative Speed Force, that would make total sense for me. Like, I'd be like, okay, they brought him back and now he has to do what they say, or they're going to erase him from reality again. That would have been the simple, easy solution to all of this. But instead, his speed is gone. He's been reprogrammed by non-sentient zombies and then given technology that he does a job for someone else who we don't know who that person is, which I'm hoping that we get some sort of answer to that. I thought maybe the bartender was the person that was doing this because he was trying to make money off of all these people in the fixed point. That's what I thought it was. I don't know. Right. I have no idea. Either way, I'm very, very, very confused about this. And I love the Reverse Flash, but this ain't it.
No,
this ain't it for me.
And the Reverse Flash is like always coming back. Barry can do whatever he wants, and you can think, okay, he's finally gone for good now. So he's very, very on top of this stuff. So how I find it hard to believe that the Reverse Flash would let this happen to him.
Yeah, so Jordan says, how did the bartender even create the bar? That's my point. Legends doesn't deal with that. I'll be very surprised if they even answer that question because there's no logical reason. No, they probably won't. Okay, so we got a couple of super chats here from Luther G. 9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. He goes, I wasn't buying what Thawne had told Sarah. I knew he was lying when he said, believe it or not, Sarah, I came to see their point that history cannot and should not be changed. This is the same guy. I guess there's another.
There's two more.
Oh, there's okay. All right, another 9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Who once said, I am the only speedster that knows how to manipulate the timeline to get what I want. In season 5, Cicada's dagger was destroyed. Then Thawne was liberated. Now he's prepared to help. You said there's another one? There's another super chat? Okay. Thank you, Luther. He goes, Sarah, unfix a fixed point, which is probably the key to getting him his speed back. You have to be gullible like Nora to believe what Thawne was saying. So he's saying that this version of Eobard is just lying to get out of his contract with this whoever's holding him hostage, I guess, in this time loop.
Well, I wouldn't past him.
I would love that, but I don't think they have many plans for him after that. Like, what would be the end game for this version of Eobard getting out? Like, we know we have the one over on the Flash that looks like Wells. and that's the one that we primarily deal with. Unless they're planning on having Matt Lesher come back as a villain on Legends at some point, I don't see why they would unlock this one, because this actually answers a question for a lot of people. Why does the Matt Lesher version of Eobard never show up again? Well, this is why. He's stuck in a time loop and he can't get out. They never really have to answer that question anymore because there's our answer. So I don't know if they would benefit from him getting out. This is actually a really superhero way of looking at it, like a comic book way of looking at it, Luther. And I agree. I think this would be very cool if this is what's actually happening. And I would give them so much credit if they do this next week, because it is a 2-part episode. But I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think it's going to happen. Do you guys think they would go this direction with this, or no? Do you think this is how Legends would play it out? Make it so that he's lying to get his speed back? I mean, it would make sense from his character's point of view, but I don't know if the show would benefit from it.
I don't know that the writers would actually do that, you know, or like think of something like that this far into Legends, you know. I don't know. It would be awesome, like you said, but I just don't see it happening.
Canada Graphs, do you see any benefit to Matt Lesher being freed from the time loop, or no?
I guess that really depends on what they want to do with Matt I mean, I know you've talked about this many times, the problems with one show stepping on other shows' plans. It really comes down to what the plans are for either The Flash or Legends of Tomorrow with Matt Lesher anytime in the future, I guess.
Yeah.
So we might never get a definitive answer until those series are over.
Look, Robert Blake, I knew I saw a Time Wraith doing paperwork at the Time Bureau. I mean, maybe. What if it was reprogrammed by the Time Masters before he was destroyed? So here's the deal. The Time Masters supposedly existed outside of time, which means that they technically could never be destroyed because they would always exist. So wrap your head around that one. Thank you for the super chat, Luther. I appreciate the 3 super chats. I really do appreciate it. All right, so we are going to wrap this up. We got 10 minutes now. Let's talk about Superman and Lois. This is season 2, episode 3, The Thing in the Mines. And I do want to point out that my TV network had my subtitles all jacked up. I was getting a lot of wrong information from reading the subtitles.
Right. I heard about this with you with the mom thing. Okay, yeah.
Yes. Okay, and I have a theory on either they messed up or they're teasing something that I'm not totally aware of. Adam here is 49 super chat. Did you like the 100th episode of Legends? Thank you for the super chat. The answer is no. I did not like it because it's cycled around characters that are brand new, and I wanted to see them more focused on the older characters. But I understand why they didn't do that, but I still would have preferred that. That's what happens when you have a show with a revolving door set of characters. It's hard to commemorate anything because everyone's always different. All right. Okay, so Lois is dealing with this cult with Ali Alston, who I believe is going to be the Parasite character this season. And they're retconning Lucy's story from Supergirl, because on Supergirl, she seems to be a very different character than what she is on Superman and Lois, but it is the same actress playing Lucy. And my theory is Crisis. I think they're retconning her story because it's post-Crisis. And so this is Lucy, but she took a different path. Her story was different after the changes to Crisis. And Sean, did you watch season 1 of Supergirl?
Oh, when it was on CBS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're familiar with Lucy's character, right? Lucy Lane. All right. Are you excited to see this character come back? Because it seems like this is going to be a huge story for Lois and her father and the newspaper as well.
It's definitely interesting. Before this season would have happened, I would have never guessed that I would see Lucy again. You know?
Right.
This is actually a more intriguing story than what her backstory originally was, in my opinion.
Yeah. What about you, Canada Graphs? Are you beholden to that first season of Supergirl with Lucy, or?
No. I mean, I barely was able to keep my eyes near the screen for season 1 of Supergirl, so they could pretend the entire series didn't happen. I'd be okay with it.
Well, there we go. So Lois deals with this pretty much the entire episode. She has some stuff with her father, which, by the way, Bitsy again is one of the best actresses in the Arrowverse on the CW, probably one of the best network TV actresses. She just nails every scene that she's in. She brings so much emotion to it, and she's having these big moments with her father. And then at the end of the episode, once she agrees to have this meeting at the diner, we find out she's going to be talking to Allie, the cult leader. Now, here's where I had the issue with the subtitles. Off screen, because the shot of her from here down, we didn't know who it was yet. Yeah. And it titled her as Mother off screen. Now, I thought it meant Lois's mother, but now I'm wondering, did it mean like mother as in leader of the cult? Like maybe they address her. Like if they start addressing her as mother in the cult, then that would make sense to me. Right. And maybe that was the red herring. Because I thought the twist was this person was Lois's mother. And I'm like, that's a huge twist. But that wasn't what it was. That was just the way it was addressed in the subtitles. So I'm assuming that that's what the issue was. Anyway, I just want to clear that up for my review because I don't really know what they're going to do with that or not. But do you like the idea of this cult storyline? I did a stream with Ben the other day, and he says that he wasn't really sure about what was actually happening, and it didn't seem like it was connecting very well to the rest of the season. What are your thoughts on this storyline with this cult parasite character and Lucy?
I mean, I don't know if it's just a personality thing, but I find cults just uninteresting in general. So I don't know if a storyline about it's going to be particularly exciting. Like, I can't think of a TV show I've ever watched where there was a storyline about a cult, and I was like, I can't wait to see more of that. I know there's people out there that do enjoy that. I'm very aware of it. I don't think there's ever been a storyline I can remember in a show that hit me. So I'm not excited about the idea.
Yeah.
I will say, I also thought we were going to be getting a version of Lucy Lane closer to the original version of Lucy Lane.
Oh.
This meek, beaten by somebody else, scared Lucy Lane just isn't working for me.
Lucy was a really strong, very strong character in season 1.
I mean, I remember the character, even though I don't care about Supergirl. I still remember the character. This isn't the same one, and I understand Crisis changed things, but this just goes back to what I said earlier about whatever character it was. Why didn't they just bring in a different character? Because you're literally just washing away everything about that character. Like, it's not even just like a slight adjustment. Literally 180-degree turn from the old character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they could have easily done that because for most cases, Superman and Lois feels like it's completely disconnected from the Arrowverse anyway.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest complaints, which is why when they decided to go this different direction with Lucy, I'm like, this is going to make a lot of people upset because they've already kind of dismissed Supergirl, which if you look at Superman and Lois, it is a spinoff from Supergirl. So the fact that it's not acknowledging the other series is a little strange. Like, I'm not totally bothered by it, but I will say it's a little weird that it's not acknowledged. So, because the reality is that Kara should be a bigger part of Clark's life now, especially with the way Supergirl ended its series. Like, she could just fly in and visit for a week if she wanted. Like, it just seems a little weird that they've been so disconnected with that. So
yeah, so a little bit you're right, but okay, all right. You're right in theory, she could, but at the same time, still trying to keep Clark's identity secret. So if all of a sudden people saw Kara hanging out with Clark, they might put one and one together.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, we just had in this episode the talk.
So you mean the people that already know he's Superman? They would assume that she's Supergirl. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm talking the other way around because everyone knows Kara's now Supergirl.
Oh, you mean like her identity revealing who he is?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we literally just in this episode had that very talk with Jordan. I had to remember which one it was.
Well, actually, that would have been a great time to bring that up. Why didn't Clark say, you see what happened with your aunt or whatever?
Oh, that's a great point.
Because they don't acknowledge that show exists.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, your point brings me to another problem now. Now that she's revealed her identity, why didn't Jordan say, well, you saw what Kara did or something like that? Like, I mean, it feels like that would have been...
Again, they don't acknowledge that show exists.
It's
weird.
Yeah, I mean, he and you have to. I mean, Tyler, his Superman, is being written completely different than it was when he appeared on Supergirl.
A little, yeah.
I think
I'll say that. I'll say this. I poo-pooed the Supergirl fans when they first were like, they were saying like, oh, they're trying to like ignore the history of Supergirl. They're not mentioning her. I played it down like, you're overreacting. But we're now 4 or 5 episodes, whatever we are, into season 2 of it, and we've had a couple of chances for them to bring her into the conversation, and they haven't.
Diggle's been there. Diggle's been there at this point. So
yeah.
All right, so we have a $20 super chat from Skybound.
Oh wow.
So before we read this, I want to say the big reveal in this episode, the thing we've been waiting for all this time, is for Doomsday to appear, and we're going to see this comic accurate Doomsday, right? We were tricked. We were all fooled because the showrunner mentioned Doomsday, so everybody assumed Doomsday confirmed. I was one of them. He tricked me. But that's one thing I love about Superman and Lois, because they did it with Lex Luthor last season, which I thought was really smart. So anyway, we expected Doomsday, and I thought this is comic accurate. I saw the pictures from the trailer, and I'm like, this is going to be amazing.
You saw that fist. That's all you had to see.
Right.
You know?
And then we find out that it's not actually Doomsday. It is Bizarro in some kind of a containment suit that has been buried under the mines, under all the ex-kryptonite for all this time. And before we read this, what were your reactions to this? Like, so Sean, I'll ask you first. What was your reaction to this when you saw Bizarro? Because I knew almost immediately it was Bizarro. I'm like, this is Bizarro. Like,
oh yeah. Well, first I have to say that I was very, very annoyed with the prospect of having Doomsday be introduced again this soon in any type of Superman storyline. You know, they did it on Smallville, they did it in Man of Steel, and you know, now season 2 of Superman and Lois, it just didn't feel right. But when the part of the mask came, or the helmet came off, and you kind of saw in there, I was like, Bizarro? And yeah, my mind was blown, man. I was like, well done. That is some top quality misdirect from the writers.
Definitely. What about you, Canada? Because Canada, you're not a big comic book reader, but you knew
exactly. I was going to start off.
Is there, right? Yeah,
I do. See, that's funny thing. He's one of the few people I do know, but I wouldn't have picked him out in a lineup to save my life unless he had the backwards S. That's the only way I would have known it. So on TV, when they showed the cracked face mask and that, I'm just like, who is this supposed to be? Because he's got drawings on his face. And I'm only looking at half of his face, so I don't pick up it's Tyler. But people in my chat, because I was watching it on Twitch at the time, people in my chat are like, that's Tyler playing him. I'm like, oh, interesting. And I still didn't catch on, because when he goes to the Fortress of Solitude, it's kind of dark in there. So you can't see the details of everything. And on my screen, it maybe was darker. I don't know. So I still didn't pick up on it. But a couple people in my chat are like, oh, it's Bizarro. I'm like, maybe. And then when at the end, they had the logo on the screen with the backwards Superman and Lois, I'm like, oh my, you're right. And I just, at that point, I was like, they did it to us again. After the Captain Luthor one last season, why did any of us believe what they were telling us?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Okay, so Skybound here says, with a $20 super chat, any Team Eric member. Thank you so much, Skybound. Really do appreciate it. If you reverse Bizarro's few pieces of dialogue, you'll notice he says, in the mines, fight, leave me alone. And in the fortress scene, he says home. I didn't figure this out myself. Credit to Blind Wave. Well, actually, I saw it like almost immediately after the episode aired. People were reversing it and making videos of it and posting it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so I saw this as well. And this is kind of what, do you think we're going to get a reversed dialogue from him all the time? And we're going to have to like decipher what it is he's saying? I mean,
oh my God.
That would get annoying.
Would it?
Because I mean, traditionally Bizarro, like in representation and animation, like he might get like some words, you know, mixed up or what have you, but you could still understand what he's trying to say.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I hope we don't have to have like the whole decoder ring and stuff for this.
Oh, Paigey, maybe Jim Jones will be revealed as the cult leader. Yeah, maybe Paigey. Let's see. There was something else here. Where is it at? I think I saw part of the chat. Now it's gone. Oh, anyway. There's another super chat here. Let's get to that, and then we'll wrap this up. Staggerford with the 499 super chat. Who do you think that doctor, forgot her name, was on the phone at the end of episode 2?
Episode 2 of Superman and Lois. Wasn't that the lady that went in the mine with John Henry Irons?
Yeah, I think it was Dr. Faulkner, right? The one that was in charge of the mines. Yeah.
Oh, do you mean like who's she talking to? I think there maybe.
Yeah.
Who do you think the doctor? Yeah, who's she on the phone with? Right. Okay.
Anderson. She's on the phone with.
Yeah, that's my running theory. That's my running theory as well.
Yeah, my theory is that the government has been doing. The government is responsible for Bizarro somehow, some way, and she's probably talking to Anderson because he appointed her in charge of this. I'm pretty sure. I'm not gonna bet like I'm not 100%, but I'm like 99% sure it's Anderson because it has to be someone we've met before. A lot of people want it to be Lex Luthor, but I don't think that's the case.
I don't think so. I really
Although
don't.
John Cryer did a good Lex up until the last season.
But then they would have to admit that Supergirl exists.
Probably.
No, they don't. They could just retcon everything that he did on Supergirl.
That's true. That's true.
I saw someone, I think it was Thomas Scott, was talking about people just crapping on Superman and Lois at this point.
Really?
I can't find the chat or whatever. I see
there's some of those websites that don't like their diverse storylines got mad about the Sarah kissing a girl thing and have now started to.
You know what? I would love to dive into the story with the kids and everything, but we're already running over time here.
No, I'm not looking for it.
Yeah. No. I get what you're saying, and it totally makes sense to me. We know that Jonathan is going to have some sort of an addiction storyline with XK because we saw that his girlfriend was dealing. So that's one of the moving storylines, which, by the way, an addiction storyline is very heavy for Superman and Lois. So I'm curious with the cult stuff and the addiction. Like, what are they going for here? This is going to be a heavy season.
That's two different topics. I'm not really excited about one.
Yeah, but then we have the stuff with Sarah and Jordan, where Sarah feels guilty for cheating on Jordan by kissing someone else, and people are hung up on who the other person is. But I think we're missing the point here. I don't know if that other person, if she's ever going to be a factor on the show. I think what's going on here is that Sarah cheated on Jordan and now they have to rebuild that trust between each other. Exactly. That's what I think the story is. Mm-hmm. And whatever Sarah's sexuality ends up being, whether it even is addressed or talked about or whatever, I don't think that half of the story is the part that people are focused on that, but I don't think that's super important yet. Until we meet that character, we don't know anything about her or what happened at camp. We don't know. And maybe they'll dive into it. But I think right now to try and put a label on what's going on with them or try and, to figure out what happened with Sarah at camp or whatever or whatnot. Let's see what happens with her and Jordan, because I think that is the storyline they're trying to focus on, obviously. So Amethyst here, member for 24 months. Thank you so much. Supergirl created X-Kryptonite in the comics. Oh, I didn't
know that.
I didn't know that either. So that's even more Supergirl erasure from Superman and Lois.
Yeah, so it's all Supergirl's fault.
Imagine that.
There you go. There's your next video idea, Eric. Supergirl ruining.
Did Supergirl ever exist?
Yeah.
Ben's going to have a story about this. Ben's going to make up a video. Supergirl confirmed in the Superman universe.
Yeah. Lord said, let's be honest. Lord Vanderkill says, let's be honest. The CW can be very heavy-handed at times. It has been, especially on Supergirl, and even Arrow had a couple episodes that were kind of heavy-handed. But Superman and Lois seems to understand nuance, which I think is really important. So I hope they get it right. I'm going to say I've got high expectations for the series in terms of that. So other than that, though, I absolutely enjoyed the episode. I think everything's solid. Superman and Lois is still at the top of my list. I'm curious what everybody in the chat thinks on a scale of 1 to 10. What would you score it? I'm very excited to see what the scores are going to be. Yeah, 13 years on Twitter. That's wild that I've been on Twitter for 13 years.
How could you stand it for that long?
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I made my account and then I just disappeared. I didn't use it for a long time. I wanted to make sure I had my name on there, so I made an account. So
mine will be 13 years in April.
Oh wow! All right. I see a lot of 10s, a couple of 8s there. Amethyst with the 499 super chat. Thank you, Amethyst. She goes, perhaps Mother is Granny Goodness. They could still be leading to Doomsday, etc., as well as other comic things like we saw the Super Squad, etc. I would be shocked and surprised if she ends up being Granny Goodness. That would be absolutely insane if they went that direction.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah, I'm not saying I would be upset. It would definitely be a shock, though.
Then you go into like Apocalypse, I mean, and that would have to be because HBO Max is giving their show a bigger budget, right? Because you have to like render Apocalypse CGI wise.
Well, I'll say this though, they said that they didn't do New Gods for a reason. I wonder if it's because they're going to use it on Superman and Lois.
Yeah, exactly. That's
what
really
it is.
Good.
Could you imagine a TV show getting like
like Apocalypse and all of that, the life equation?
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine Darkseid walking through a boom tube, on Superman and Lois. That's crazy.
I think you might be getting ahead of yourself.
So I will say this: I would love an Apocalypse thing if they actually decided to do like the Darkseid storyline with all those characters from Apocalypse, and they actually tie it into like a crossover event. I would like something like that. I don't like start it out with Superman and Lois, and then bring it back there. All right, let's do this last super chat, and then we're going to close out. Adam Strangelove with a $10 super chat. It actually really bothers me that no one is giving Sarah crap for cheating. It's like everyone is shifting blame. Jordan, she cheated everyone. Well, if you have secrets too, Jordan, you're right. I suck. So yeah, I mean, one of the big things was Jordan felt bad about keeping a secret from Sarah because he feels like she told him, she was honest about what she did. And I don't think anyone's not giving her crap. I mean, Jordan was clearly upset with her when she told him and wasn't speaking to her. But you have to understand, and this is what I always say about people's relationships when it comes to how they deal with their trauma. Everyone handles those things differently. And some people stay in very toxic relationships, which is not healthy for either person involved in it. But it happens. It's reality. And if the show does not cover it the way that we would act in that situation, we have to remember that maybe they're telling us a different story. So I do believe that Sarah will eventually get to a point where she has to atone for some of this. And this is why I think Jordan will actually end up outing himself as a Kryptonian eventually, because he's going to feel like it's the right thing to do. That's what I think they're going to do with the story. So I'm keeping an eye on it. But we'll see. I think thinking that her mother, one of the other things I thought is that her mother was going to get mad at her for doing this and whatnot. You want your parents to be supportive. I don't think she should yell and scream at her when she came clean to Jordan about something she did wrong, because that's already bad enough.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Lana doing that.
I couldn't either.
No, I don't think most people could, but I mean, at the start of the series, I think it was pretty obvious at the very least that their dad, Kyle, would be a closer to a particular political affiliation.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
And he might have been someone that you could, early on in the series, when we didn't know much about the character, he's someone you could have possibly seen getting mad about that. Now, knowing the character more, I think he probably would be perfectly fine as well.
Yeah, so.
He's got that. Oh, can I bring up one random thought?
Yeah, go ahead.
How cool is it that Kyle and Lana have a second child again?
Yes. Sophia, whatever her name is.
It's nice that she came back from wherever the hell they left her.
Yeah, they disappear all the time for several episodes at a time. Okay, so we're gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Sean, where can they find you? I always do this for your first time on the podcast.
Awesome. You can find me at Sean Stackhouse Reacts here on YouTube.
And any social media you want to shout out? Your Twitter?
Yeah,
Instagram?
if you want to follow me on Twitter.
I think it's Sean Stackhouse everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just at Sean Stackhouse on Twitter, Sean Stackhouse Reacts on YouTube, and I think Sean Stackhouse Reacts on Instagram.
Okay. And you guys know where to find Canada Graphs. He's a regular. He's here all the time, and you guys know about his blog and all that. So we're going to jump out of here. But Canada Graphs, do we need to play Geo Guesser?
Give me an idea of your schedule, and I'll try and on the weekend, preferably.
Yeah. You guys, I will join Canada Graphs for a Geo Guesser live stream so I can see if I can finally beat him, because I did really good last time.
You did win a round. What did you win?
Yeah. I won the United States.
Was it? Yeah.
I'm glad I won the United States. If I didn't, like, what in the world?
You're actually the first person that won their own country. So.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
there we go. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll
All
see
right.
you later.